Hey, back with another video. Now today, we're going to be reacting to interview with Oklahoma State Senator Nathan D.H.M. The problem with Jon Stewart. Let's get it. Let's go. Let's hop right into the reaction. Y'all know I don't waste no time. But thank you for sticking around. Hey, y'all, we growing, man. I've dropped probably 110 videos within the month of coming back starting. And I'm happy. For anybody who comments, anybody has anything to say, I know we don't always agree, but I do love y'all and I respect y'all comments, and I really want to get to all y'all on Saturday. Definitely, we will have our time at 4 p.m. Remember, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. I'm going to go live and I'm going to talk about it. Also, you can follow me on TikTok if you want to. TikTok Cam King. Follow me on TikTok. I do a lot of the 40 Laws of Power content on there, but let's go. Let's hop on in. Let's go right in.
I'm a strong proponent of the Second Amendment. I believe the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
I do too. I'm a strong proponent of the Second Amendment. I think, definitely, I'm a strong proponent of the Second Amendment.
That's the one right that's listed in the Constitution that uses that very specific affirmative language, shall not be infringed.
It's also the one right that uses the phrase well-regulated.
Correct, when it's talking about the militia and the state.
By the way, just for clarity's sake,
yeah.
I'm not against the Second Amendment. I don't want to ban guns. But you're saying more guns makes us more safe.
Yes.
So when we got 400 million guns in the country, we had an increase and gun deaths went up. So when exactly does this curve hit that takes it down? Would 1 billion guns do it?
Let's just run those numbers. 400 million,
okay.
50,000. You're talking.
I want to fact check people when I'm doing these things, man, because I do know that there was a guy that I was listening to. I was listening to his book where he was talking about the specific states where more guns are in the states and there are less gun crimes. However, though, I did hear that, but the neighboring states that have stricter gun laws have states that have lax gun laws, and the guns from those lax states go into the neighboring states that are strict on guns, and it makes it and it doesn't curve the problem. Gun problems mostly happen in poverty-stricken communities. More homicides are committed in poverty-stricken communities. We know this for a fact, right? But we also know that there is regulation on guns that's like overwhelming. Like in Ohio, there are counties where you can buy certain firearms and you can't have extensions on the firearms. So I wonder if we just blanketly said guns are legal, no restrictions, no laws, guns are legal, we except we have restrictions on basically I guess felons, and I like the boyfriend causation that they had out there where the boyfriend put their hands on the wife, no guns, mental illness, no guns. But I wonder if we had just a blanket open gun, what would happen? I do wonder that. But on the same note, where you have blanket gun bans, there is really no gun death. None. Like Australia, there's no gun death. Canada, there's hardly any gun death. Britain, there's barely any gun death. Now it's switched over to knives, but it's still gun deaths are gone, Whereas in America, it's like 20,000 a year. So it's just something to think about, y'all. Like, I know y'all jump in the comment section and debate on that, but I like this. Let's go.
Talking about less than a fraction of, not even 1%, of 1/100%.
But it goes up, not down. So your argument is backwards.
But if you want, so let's come up with a solution. Okay, so one of the issues, a contributing factor, again, I believe it's the individual that is the problem.
So your solution to that is give them more guns.
So I'm saying that because people are the problem, we need to look at the problems that those people are facing and how do we address it.
But you've removed the ability for the state to do that.
No, because you're...
If you don't have background checks and you don't have registration and permitting, how do you know who has a problem in terms of the people who you're giving a gun to?
Do you want to talk about the background checks first, or do you want to talk about solutions first?
I want to talk about what you're doing is you're bringing chaos to order.
That's your subjective opinion, that it's bringing chaos to order.
It's not my subjective opinion. We have 50,000 gun-related deaths. That's not a subjective opinion.
Okay, so
that's dead people. Let me back up for a second. In every other place in your life.
So I said 20,000. It's 50,000. That's a lot. I was off, but I could have sworn it was only 20,000. Maybe I'm looking at maybe 2017, 18, around that time, because that's the last time I've checked up on the amount of gun deaths that have happened overall. I don't know. Fact check me on that, y'all. Fact check him
You
too.
want to bring order. But guns are the outlier for you. So let's start with immigration.
Okay.
You want registration, maybe a wall, maybe not a wall. Why do you want that?
Well, one of the reasons is because the fentanyl crisis. Right. Okay. But
And you don't know when it's coming across. So what do you
But
do?
the fentanyl crisis is twice what the gun death crisis is.
Okay, so until the gun crisis gets to the fentanyl level,
Not until it.
you don't want to bring order.
No, not until it. But
do you
if we're
see
gonna
my
talk-
point?
If we're going to talk about protecting lives, that's a larger issue in America
Yes.
than guns is. If we're talking about individual lives
Yes.
of ways that they can be protected, loss of life in America, there's loss of life through fentanyl. There's loss of life through obesity. The obesity crisis in America costs 6 times the number of lives as guns.
Right,
And
and
so,
you're the guy saying, you know what would help this? Ice cream.
Technically, you are saying that. That's technically what you're saying. That's technically what you're saying. Like, he's technically right. That's what you're saying, man. You're saying that more guns will cause less gun crime. It does sound like a flawed argument. It does sound like it doesn't make sense.
So, you know what would help the problem that we're facing with firearms?
What?
The fatherlessness crisis that we have in America.
Oh my God.
If you look at the statistics,
Right, yeah, they're
Eight.
dying from gun deaths.
80%
Yes.
Yeah.
of school shooters either came from a broken or fatherless home.
That's
So
true.
you would say no guns for fatherless homes.
No, that's not what I would say.
Oh.
I would say that fathers need to be more engaged.
Great. So let's
crime with
let's
a firearm
put
if they don't have a
let's
father
put
in the
more
home.
resources into areas that are poverty stricken. All for it.
And into fatherlessness, and that's something that we're
But
doing.
why with guns are you against bringing order?
I'm not against bringing order.
You are.
Like, but I want to stick to the fatherless thing for a second, guys, and think of it in the comment section. How do you fix that? You can't change somebody that doesn't want to be in their child's life. How do you truly fix that problem? How do you do that? Like how do you do it? Like, I understand why the Democrats kind of don't talk about it. It's a complicated problem to fix. You can't force anyone to be in the home. We've already done that with child support. That don't work. Alimony, that don't work. You know, alimony's for a broken marriage, but still, it ties into like children and taking care of the spouse. So it's what do you do? What do you do to solve that problem? You know, that's a big problem. But one thing I know one thing we really can do though is focus on those poverty-stricken areas. Definitely, that definitely would help.
You're also making it less safe for cops and for people. When
That's
the
true.
police go to a domestic call, it's the most dangerous call they can go on.
Yes.
In your world, if they knew that there were firearms in the house, that's a safer call.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
No, because police.
Because why?
Because police treat every situation as a potential.
But more guns makes us safer. So why don't, when the police go to a house filled with guns,
He looks stressed.
why don't they breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that this Second Amendment that shall not be infringed is being exercised so fruitfully in this home?
Are you familiar with the 39-year-old woman in New Jersey?
I'm familiar with a ton of anecdotes.
Yeah.
I'm
This
asking
is not-
you a
this is-
simple
this is
question.
not an anecdote,
When
John.
the police
This actually happened.
go to a
She had
house,
a restraining order on her ex-boyfriend.
I
of
can
an
run
individual-
through
I know. We can both run
hundreds
through
and
that.
hundreds of examples of women killed by their domestic partners by guns that were not taken away through the lessening of red flag laws. You're pivoting
But
to
they're not-
anecdotes.
No, this is not anecdotes.
What the police say, if we had gun registration, if we were able to track purchases, if they have a technology that every bullet would be stamped with an individual like a fingerprint, if we had an ATF that wasn't defunded, we would be able to enforce gun laws more effectively, and we would be able to solve gun crimes more effectively. You're against all of that.
Because the person is the threat, not the firearm, not the knife.
I get it.
The person, the individual is the one that is the concern
Right,
here.
but you don't want anything that could help law enforcement or society determine whether or not a person is a good guy with a gun or a bad guy with a gun.
Most
The
even law
registry
enforcement.
would allow you to have much more effective background checks. So I don't understand why you won't just admit that you are making it harder for police to manage the streets by allowing all of these guns to go out without permits, without checks, and without background stuff. Why is that hard? Why can't you just stand by that?
Because that's not what I'm doing. I'm defending the individual's right to keep and bear arms.
That's a different argument.
Okay, but
You may do. Here's what I'm saying. You want to say I'm a Second Amendment purist and I'm making it safer. You're not. You're making it more chaotic, and that's not a matter of opinion. That's the truth.
That is a matter of opinion, John.
But why take away their tools?
Because certain of their tools that they're using would be infringements upon the people's right to keep and bear arms, upon their constitutional rights, upon due
So you're
process,
saying
upon other things.
that registering is an infringement?
Yes.
Okay. Is voting a right?
It's a right for citizens, yes.
Do you have to do anything to do it?
Yes.
What do you have to do?
It depends on the state.
What do you have to do?
Sometimes you have to be at least 18 years old.
What do you have to do?
And in some places you have to have a government-issued ID.
What do you have to? You have to
You have to be on the voter rolls.
register. You have to register. So you have to register to a right. Is that an infringement?
Does the right to voting say shall not be infringed?
Oh, so this is just a semantic argument. No, you believe voting rights can be infringed because it doesn't say specifically shall not be infringed.
Is it an infringement upon a 17-year-old's right to vote, since they don't have that right to vote?
No.
Oh, it's not an infringement on them?
No, absolutely not.
Why not?
Because you're the one making the argument, not me. I'm saying even rights have responsibilities, and that within those responsibilities are responsibilities and order. Otherwise, it's chaotic. I'll go you one further. You want to ban drag show readings to children?
To my house, yes.
Why?
Why?
What are you protecting?
Why can we prohibit children from voting, those under 18 from voting?
Why are you
But
banning
also that?
Is that free speech? Are you infringing on that performer's free speech?
Yes.
They can continue to exercise their free speech, just not in front of a child.
Why?
Because the government does have a responsibility to protect.
I'm sorry?
The government does have a responsibility in certain instances to
What's
protect
the
children.
leading cause of death amongst children in this country? And I'm going to give you a hint. It's not drag show readings to children.
Correct, yes.
So what is it?
I'm presuming you're going to say it's firearms.
No, I'm not going to say it like it's an opinion. That's what it is. It's firearms. More than cancer, more than car accidents. And what you're telling me is you don't mind infringing free speech to protect children from this amorphous thing that you think of. But when it comes to children that have died, you don't give a flying fuck to stop that because that shall not be infringed. That is hypocrisy at its highest order.
Man, Jon Stewart is the wrong person to get into a debate with. Jesus Christ. Dude was literally sweating. I felt bad for dude to a certain point, man. He was literally sweating. I would have been sweating too. Like, oh my God. Because it's like, but here's the thing. This is why you should always be willing to change your mind, right? You should always be willing to listen to other explanations and be like, okay, well, maybe we can work on this. Maybe we can change that. Maybe we can alter this. Because if you're not, then you'll get caught in a moment like that where you're trying to debate something that like really has no merit almost in this conversation. The right to be infringed is the only thing that stands on the document when it comes to bearing arms. But yes, firearms are unaliving a lot of people. I do feel like these are two totally different conversations. But they're not. Like, actually, they're not. But it does sound like they're two totally different. Because I know the other argument that the other side is making. It's that if the government became too oppressive, the citizens can take up arms and defend themselves. And that's what people are trying to defend themselves from with the part of infringement and having the right to bear arms. But there is also this argument of how many people are being unalived by these things, and do we care enough to try to like find some type of solution to it? Well, anyways, I'm out, y'all. Love that one. Peace.